for this statistics analysis checklist, but from the viewpoint of incorporating some AI tools into statistical analysis. So I have taught statistics courses for a number of years, and I guess I'll just tell you this is an experiment. I've never taught this before. I've never had the chance to use these as much with statistical analysis, so I thought this was probably a great chance to look at what we know and what could AI tools potentially help us do. So I've tried a few things out, and this video is some of the things I've tried and these resources that I'm making available to you. And we will all learn as we go along because the landscape of doing our work is rapidly changing. So we may as well try to figure out how to take advantage of the tools that we have at our disposal, the tools we have available at our disposal. So you should recognize the checklist that we've been building, and here's the top of it: which descriptive statistics should I use? And there are some prompts that could potentially help us out with this. So I have tried these prompts on Microsoft Copilot. We have an account, we have that available to us through the U of U, and that works best on Microsoft Edge. So if you wanted to try this exactly as I did it, Microsoft Edge, go to Copilot. But I have tried a couple things out on ChatGPT. A couple things work a little better in ChatGPT than they did in Copilot. So it's worth experimenting with other tools. And if you have a particular chat model that you like to use, it's worth trying these out. So hopefully we can all learn together and find what works best where. So the very first thing, and I'm just going to switch back and forth between Copilot and my other screen here. So in Copilot, the very first thing I did was let's see, that was, let me switch back to this other chat. We're going to hit this other one back in a minute. So rather than starting fresh, I'm just going to walk you through this chat that I did with our computer assignment. So Copilot allows you to upload a file. And so far I have tried uploading a data file in the form of a CSV, a comma separated value file, which is ubiquitous. I don't know if it can upload Excel files. I haven't tried yet, so maybe that'll be something I try. It is a Microsoft product, so maybe that's going to be worth trying. But anyway, I did a CSV, and so if you hit the add a file little paperclip here in the chat window, and then it will let you navigate to your the file, the folder where the file is, select it, and then once you select it, if you just hit enter, then Copilot will upload your file. And you'll notice here in the name of this file that it said chi-square dataset happiness. This is the example data that I created for our computer assignment. And it must have inferred that I wanted to do a chi-square test, because rather than just summarize the file, it actually ran a chi-square test for us here. So you can see we had a chi-square statistic, a p-value, and degrees of freedom with expected frequencies. So it's not formatted nicely like it would be in our statistical software, but the answer is actually correct. So or I didn't check all of these numbers, but it looks good so far. So it gave us an example. So I wasn't even expecting it to do that, but hey, I was a little surprised. It jumped the gun on me a little. So my very first question here, and back in our checklist, is we're looking at descriptive statistics. So I was curious, can it identify the variables in a data set and tell me the level of measurement? Because we know that we need to select our level of measurement to make any further choices on what we do. And luckily and surprisingly, or I guess happily, it identified our occupation variable as nominal and our happiness variable as ordinal. Now, when I originally imported this data into Jamovi, I had to go tell it. It saw that these were text entries, and I had to go tell it that this was actually ordinal, and I had to reorder the categories. So to save you guys time from doing that, I just gave you the Jamovi OMV file, but Copilot identified just from the text that these had an order to them and identified it as ordinal. So yeah, that's pretty impressive. You can just put in some data. And then in your computer assignment, I showed you, we're building a table based on level of measurement for independent and dependent variables, what is the appropriate statistical test. And I showed you in the computer assignment, Jamovi has a package called StatCat that if you drag the variables into the windows, it will give you suggestions on what the correct test would be. So I asked Copilot what might be the right statistical tests for these variables. So descriptive statistics gave me frequency and mode. There's our chi-square test of independence. And then it gave some other potential things. A crosstabs is just basically a table. Ordinal logistic regression, we will not talk about that in this course, but it's a way to categorize ordinal variables using a regression thing. We will talk about regression later in the semester. Bar charts are the appropriate visualization for categorical variables. And then a cluster analysis and proportional odds model. I've never done either of those analyses, but apparently there's something you can do with categorical variables. So a few more options there than we have. So that is handy. What is the level of power for this chi-square test? I was just reaching here. Can it actually do a power analysis? And it looks like it tried it, but it ran into a challenge, but it did suggest ways to move that further. That's beyond the scope of this course, but I thought, what the heck, let's ask the question. Based on the chi-square it already conducted, which matched our results, I asked, should I reject or fail to reject the null hypothesis for the chi-square test? And it gave me an answer which I would agree with. We had a very large chi-square statistic with a very small p-value, and it would suggest to reject the null hypothesis with the common level of significance of 0.05. So it knew it needed to infer a significance level to make that choice. And then for significant results, describe the pattern where observed values differ from expected values in the cells. And so it went through and did what I kind of showed you in the computer assignment and told you where observed differed from expected, and it identified an overall trend, which we had identified in the computer assignment. So really, this is really performing quite well. I'm quite surprised. So. Just on this sheet, here are the prompts, and this is on GitHub, and these little blocks are what they call code blocks. And if you just click the little boxes here, it will actually copy the prompt, and then you can paste that in the window. So here's the ones about variables and descriptive statistics. Which statistical test should I use? And here's the prompts about asking about what some prompts about statistical tests. And then statistical analysis critique steps. Um, so some of these are for a study overall, and we didn't have much of that information. A lot of that stuff that I was asking about the statistical test in particular, you could ask about the independent, dependent variables. So this checklist is actually, they work pretty well for prompts. So it's kind of like you have a prompt list here. So there's really, between the checklist and a tool, you can probably get a lot of good information out of here and get a lot of help if you're struggling to get help. And okay, I've got some prompts at the bottom. Let's see what I did next in there. Sorry, a little something blocking my window. Okay, I asked about the effect size and the interpretation of the effect size. So for a chi-square that's bigger than a 2x2 table, Kramer's V is the correct effect size, and it gave us that, and that it interpreted that, and so greater than 0.3 is a large effect. I'd probably go a little further and say this was a very large effect, not just a large effect. And a strong association between occupation and happiness in your data set. So, wow, this I would have loved to have this when I was a PhD student. Spent a lot of time trying to remember this stuff. So you can get some really good help here. I think I just wanted to just point this out to you guys that this checklist really can give you a lot of pointers of the kind of questions to ask to get targeted help, because the better and more structured your questions and prompts are, the more useful and relevant your answers are going to be for what you're trying to do. So I had it try and write up a result of the chi-square test, and I kind of gave a pattern of what Navarro had used in their text, because Navarro really gave a nice guideline of how to structure those things, and it did okay. It actually did not structure these like a real regular report. So the information is factually correct. It's not presented in the most smoothest way, but it did interpret it for the reader. So again, you will have to use your judgment, but this can really get you in the ballpark. And I've seen many more poorly written results sections than this. So I'm actually not displeased with this, but the knowledgeable human touch still is better than what you have here. And I tried to reprompt it to get the format, the results, is publish them in an academic journal, and it did come up with some tables a little bit, which that's not bad, to have a little example. I'm not sure I would format these tables this way myself, but at least it's an idea and an interpretation. So all in all, this is great. I mean, this is great information. I don't think I would use it exactly as it came out here. ChatGPT, I did have ChatGPT report results, and you'll see the prompt that I gave in the computer assignment, and it did a little bit better job, I think, of creating a results section. But all in all, I was pretty happy with that. So moving on from just our computer assignment, we have our research articles that Heavy lists. And at the end of chapter 8 for chi-square, Heavy lists a research article, Continuous Physiological Monitoring Improves Patient Outcomes, in the American Journal of Nursing. And I have pretty good luck, and I have so far, with checking these out. If you go to scholar.google.com and search the title, I got a link directly to this, and I downloaded the article. So because I just wanted to try out some of our checklist items with this article. So I uploaded the PDF just like I did in a previous assignment last week and with our data set. So click on the add file, navigate to the folder where the file is, select it, and then hit enter. And it uploaded it, and it gave me a kind of a summary of the document. And then these are just questions directly from the checklist. So if you start at the top of the checklist, oh, I moved it out of the way. If you start at the top of the checklist and start in the top section for the study overall, these are great prompt questions, and you can basically just copy a question block out of the checklist and paste it into the chat window, and that's what I did. I wanted to see how well would it do. I think the only thing that I would add to this is I like to see what sentences out of the actual article support the answers that Copilot is providing. So at the end of this, I would say, please list the sentences that support the answers that you provide at the end of any of these prompts. But as far as general purpose of the study, it identified this as a quality improvement article, and it answered my questions for error rates. We're going to learn a little more about this as we go through there. Inferences from tests, generalizability of the results. It said this study is conducted in a single 27-bed general medical unit over 3 months, which limits the generalizability. It's not a very big unit compared to all of medicine, but it could potentially have broader applications. And they mentioned some future plans. So what a great way to get a quick understanding of an article and start pulling some items out for helping us to assess the quality of the research. And then I went through asking about the research questions. I just followed the checklist and went through and started putting prompts in. What is the study design? It's a quantitative quasi-experimental design, which involved the manipulation of an independent variable, implementation of continuous physiological monitoring, but it lacks random assignment in a control group. So that looks like it's appropriately identified as a quasi-experimental quantitative study design. In my prompt, I asked about threats to validity, and these give some nice critiques on what might be limitations of the study. And no study is perfect. There's no such thing because we live in the real world. But you can do the best you can and overcome a lot of things, but you're always going to have strengths and weaknesses. So internal, external validity, this really did a pretty nice job of identifying these things. So this is where this checklist really is going to be helpful as you work more with your own data and look at research from other people. So I know in your other courses, you're going to learn about the Johns Hopkins evidence-based practice model. And I was curious to see how this tool would identify the level of evidence. So we know that Johns Hopkins can give us a level of evidence based on the type of study and then a level of the quality of the work with a letter grade. And so level of evidence on 5 levels, level 1 through 5 in Roman numerals, and this identified as a level 2 quasi-experimental study, and that sounded pretty reasonable to me. And then I asked it what level of quality, and I gave the criteria for A, B, and C in the question, and based on the question, it rated it as a B. So this would be a level 2B study. And I put those prompts down here at the bottom of the checklist. It's not directly, related with our statistics course, but this is something that you're going to need to do throughout the rest of the program. I put those prompts for identifying the level of evidence and quality rating down here, and you can see they're pretty long, but the nice part is you just click the button copy. So I just wanted to go over this with you guys. I think these are useful tools for us, and hopefully we will learn how to continue to be effective with them as we move throughout the semester, and we'll be trying this out some more as we go along, and learn how to do our statistical analyses and take advantage of these great tools. So I hope this is helpful, and hope you have a good rest of your day, and we will talk later.